Welcome to the Airmere Roundtable. Today is the 19th of June, 2019, and I have my longtime friend Bruno with me. So, hi, Bruno. It's like we were just talking. Nice to have you back, and good luck with your move
Hi, Tom.
tomorrow. Yep.
Thank you.
Before we get too far into it, just a normal disclosure that Airmere Corporation is not a broker-dealer or an investment advisor. This is for educational purposes only. Options and futures involve risks and are not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not indicative of future results. If you'd like to read the whole disclosure, just pause the recording or go to the bottom of any of our web pages. So with that, I'll turn it over to you, Bruno, and just the normal thing, I'll just mute myself in case there's any background noise I don't want to disturb. But pretty excited. This is part one of your new software that you're rolling out, so really looking forward to hearing more about it.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes. Okay, so let's move to this slide. Okay, so today I'm going to introduce that piece of software, and I found with my 2 cents type of sense of humor, a funny name for it, SOAP, for Simple Options Analysis Program. And I'm quite happy to present it today, and as Tom just said, it's going to be part one. There may be part 2 and 3 for my own software, but most important, it's part of a bigger project, which I'm going to talk about. So why another options analysis software? The idea came to my mind probably a year and a half ago when I saw that OptionVue didn't do a great job in low volatility environment. One was not up to speed at the time, and basically I was not satisfied with black boxes. I mean, crunching numbers, giving whatever delta or vega, and nobody knows whether they're right or wrong. I mean, very often the risk graphs looked wrong, so I decided it's time for me to get on with it and do my own. And the good thing also is that I take it as a project where I'm going to actually be inspired. I'm going to take in a lot of ideas from other people so that it can be, if not an open source project, it can be still a pretty open one. The main thing, as I've just said, the main thing is that I believe we are all, I mean, most of us are market neutral traders, and being also a coach or mentor or expert, I see a lot of students, and I see also in other alert services and other mentoring, that people tend to manage by delta. I would say that we need to manage our positions by the Greeks in general, but if we do look at delta in particular, we must not forget that delta is also volatility dependent. So I've decided that volatility analysis will be the key thing in my software. So there will be a lot of volatility calculations, but I'll always try and make it as simple as possible. So at this point, when I decided to get into this project, I contacted a friend of mine, a French developer, and he's been a bit too slow. So what was supposed to be just a library on my part, doing all the number crunching and all the mathematics, and he would be doing all the user interface and all the, the bells and whistles, because I was programming faster than he has. This library has become a software, but that was not the initial plan. And I'm happy now that for the last few years, Microsoft is making this Visual Studio platform absolutely free, which is very different from the environment 10, 15 years ago when I used to work as a quant, and all software used to cost a fortune, and now it's a new era in programming. So I use a lot of standard libraries, but we're not getting to too many technical details right now. At this point, the broker interface is interactive brokers. The main reason for that is that their TWS is horrible. A lot of traders, and including myself, make mistakes, trading the wrong expiry, trading, placing an order in the wrong direction. This is absolutely crazy. IB is a great broker, and it's a general purpose type of broker. You can trade basically everything under the sun. And of course, their TWS and their API also reflects that. It can do everything, but by doing that, they can't actually specialize the way TOS has done with, Ameritrade has done with TOS. So I think there was a gap to actually develop a good product for IB, because really by ensuring that you place the right orders, minimizing or eliminating the chance of mistakes, it is not only a time saver, but it's also a stress saver. I mean, including myself, even just as last year, I don't know, burn out too many strategies being followed at any one time, plus my mentoring. I made a stupid error, and that stupid error cost me about $5,000. So, I mean, I have done it for myself, but I believe it can also be very important for anyone trading on strategy brokers. Will there be an interface on TOS? Yes, definitely, but not for my own program. Again, I am more interested in doing all the algorithms, mathematics of it. So it's going to be only on the bigger platform, which I will probably be able to show in a few weeks. So what's the purpose of it? I mean, I'm using only the bid and ask. So basically only prices. Of course, a lot of other platforms try and save on calculations by only just importing even the Greeks or implied volatility or anything that interactive brokers can offer. So if you trust their data and their modeling, yes, of course, you can just save yourself a lot of trouble and use whatever is sent your way by the broker. But it is not always correct. So I actually prefer calculating my own. Again, if you depend on an external source, it's the same as a black box. You don't know how it's calculated. So the core algorithm is Black-Scholes with due consideration of the limitations of Black-Scholes. So that's why there's a lot of tweaking in terms of volatility. And I've also implemented the Bergson-Stansland, which is the main modeling algorithm for TOS, actually. And Bergson-Stansland is actually a pretty good one for continuous dividend type of American options. It does not work so well on discrete dividends, but there are some, again, I'm not going to get too technical, but there are ways to deal with that. And I have already up my sleeve other models, a little bit more complex, which I will implement, but not for part one of this presentation. So the point is that because I didn't want to have too much to deal with in terms of user interface, I thought that Excel would be a good way to input-output data through, my program would then be the interface between IB and an input-output mechanism being Excel. But as time has gone by, I've actually integrated a lot more into the program itself. So Excel is still there. It's still quite nice to have if you want to play around with modeling or prices and do your own calculations. Excel is a fantastic tool, but it's become a bit secondary at this point. So who could be interested in this type of program? I would say beginner to intermediate traders, because beginners make a lot of mistakes on IB for sure. And to my big surprise, in Europe, I've seen a lot of traders who do not trade with any analysis platform whatsoever. I think it's absolutely crazy, but that's true. When you have TOS, I understand you may not need an extra piece of software, but if you're on IB, it's almost suicidal. So I strongly advise, if not this program, but that people get, I mean, there are some libraries you can, and you can download data from Yahoo and do your I mean, you don't need to have a data feed and your positions, everything updated to the second, but you need to visualize what you're doing, be able to plot a risk graph and calculate your groups. I mean, to me, it would be crazy not to do that. And of course, if people want to follow me on my quant stuff, geeky, more mathematical, and get into modeling. Again, it's not exactly an open source project, but I'm very open, unlike other software platforms where, again, you get absolutely nothing. You don't know how they calculate the modeling. I've tried to look at how the Greeks are calculating in one. They don't say anything about it. And in OptionVue, Len Yates is even more secretive about it. So I'm quite happy to share, and I think there's a lot to learn about modeling for the more advanced traders. I take it also as a trading community tool, because it's not only we can learn a lot on this, but since we use Excel to save trades, it's actually very easy to, I mean, Excel is a standard in terms of spreadsheets. So it's very easy to send your trades in an Excel spreadsheet, and they can be then analyzed on, by another user of the platform. So it's a good learning tool. I haven't really looked into that yet. Of course, I need to get the program going 100%, but again, it's pretty open. Another good thing if you trade on IB is that you are not limited by a US symbol like you are with one or OptionVue. I have not tested with the DAX options, but I'm pretty sure it works. I've tested it so far on SPX, the Russell, ES, and a few individual stocks, and it works fine. I've also tested it on monthly expiries and weekly expiries. So far, so good. I have to express a little caveat here, is that IB is not a data provider. They do not proclaim to be a real-time data provider. So there are constraints, limitations. Sometimes the throughput is not that great. But overall, it's free or next to free, and we can't complain. It's still doing a good job. As far as software architecture is concerned, because I started with developing a library, at this point, this SOAP does not use any server connection at all. It's 100% local to your computer. And of course, to do your modeling correctly, you need interest rates, you need your dividend yields, you need some volatility structure. So that all of those external pieces of information come from the internet when the program starts up. Of course, it could be faster if there would be a server connection, and when you start the software, all that information comes straight onto your computer. That may be done at some point. It's not that complicated to put some stuff on the server and call it when needed. In the same way, volatility surface is computed locally at this time, but it is no reason why volatility surface couldn't be computed on a computer and downloaded, having a server and then downloaded. I've tried to make it as simple as possible. I will definitely, this is an alpha version, there will be beta, and I look forward to comments and suggestions to simplify and streamline that. But at this stage, it's already quite easy to start a program. I mean, we will have a look at, in a moment. The link to Excel is done through a standard COM interface. People who have some programming experience will understand. And everything is then transferred in real time to spreadsheets. And I'm using open source math libraries, and I've also interfaced it to Quantlib, which is the absolute standard when it comes to modeling. So for people who would be interested into more, I mean, I'm really talking about really more advanced stuff, and they probably know about Quantlib, so it's actually a nice to have type of thing to be able to use all the Quantlib library. If at some point some of us would want to price convertible bonds and options on this, barrier options and all those things, I mean, Quantlib has everything. This I probably don't need to get back into. I mean, everybody knows Excel. So, and actually, this presentation will not be on Excel. Otherwise, it's going to be a 2 to 3 hour presentation. I'm just going to show the program itself. The layout is pretty straightforward. I can see. Anyway. I have decided to use Windows Forms and not a document-based layout. Document-based is like one or OptionVue. Basically, you start an environment and it fills the screen, and then everything is done into that document container. I wanted to make it a small footprint type of program. So it's actually a small window, which we can have a look at right in a minute, with a menu with a few buttons and a number of shortcuts on the keyboard. I actually like keyboard shortcuts. So, and of course you can't see what I'm doing, but I will show you that it's actually very easy to get it going. There may be too many buttons. For example, wide connect, disconnect, where other platforms do connect automatically without you knowing. It's a design question I've answered myself, and one reason for not connecting automatically is that the SOAP software is itself replicable. This means that if you want to run 10 clients to the API, to the TWS, and run, for example, SOAP on SPX and another one on the RESTful and another one on Apple or Facebook, nothing stops you from doing that. So each instance will be for one single instrument, but you can have, if you have space on your screen, multiple screens, nothing stops you from having several instances of your program running. So that's the reason why I don't connect automatically, because every time you connect, you have to connect to the TWS with a what we call a client ID, and of course each instance would need to have its own client ID. So maybe that's something I can code at some point if there's a demand for that. So some visual cues as well. There's little squares on the right. The first one is green when the setup is okay. The second one is green with the live data is okay. And the third one is when you request volatility surface data. It's called background data to calculate the volatility surface on expiries that you don't actually need for your strategy, but that data may be important for you to actually project your T+N properly using the vol surface information. So on this screenshot, there's no volatility surface data being requested, so that square is still red. Yeah, I've tried to. I thought that if my presentation doesn't go well, at least I could show a little. So this is the matrix. As you can see, it's not completely finished. That's a gray rectangle. Okay, I'm just going too fast. Let me go back. I think I've got a tendency of going too fast. So this is the matrix for the data that is requested. I think it's July. This is SPX. This is the range of strikes. Here we're looking at puts, bid, ask, mid. I calculate delta and vega, but I could calculate any Greeks. Even Greeks you don't see on other platforms like Verna and Dana. All those I've got in the library. I just have to expose them onto to the interface. So in this example, I've got a little simulation, which is basically put rate spread. The cost is mentioned here. It's minus, so it's a credit. The delta is there, the vega is there. And again, I can calculate all of those as well. So then here is a simulation. Here, like in other software, I will list the different legs of the combo. So this is also simple to do, but it's not quite there yet. But this is your PCS. Let's carry on. Go back to the matrix. You're happy with it? You can place an order. So the order is copied here. You just press on confirm, and you can, using this track bar, you can actually increase or decrease if at the moment the mid is 395 for that PCS, but if you want to place it a little bit more aggressive by sliding the track bar left or right, you can make your credits minute price higher. Or if you want to be filled, you can also go below the mid. You can calculate the margin effect. Actually, on purpose, I showed something that is not technically a bug, but it is an issue because when you deal with an API, it's very much event-driven. So this means that when I calculate the margin effect, I need to have an order ID sent to ID, and if the order ID doesn't come back fast enough, when I want to display the result, it says, well, you don't have the combo leg details again. So I still have in the alpha and probably into the beta versions, I will have to probably deal with the sequence of events a bit better, because now, as you will see, I just press the margin effect a second time. I confirm, and then, then it, without changing anything, now the event came at the right time, so it tells me, exactly what would be my margin requirement for this. And if you're happy with this, the next step will be to head to the TWS. So you can double check before you do that. And then the commission will be. So there again, a little sequence issue. So I have to change the order ID. Then I'll send it to the TWS. I think I recorded that yesterday. And there you go. So as you can see, it's pretty much straightforward. There's a bit of ironing out here or there, but believe it or not, this is very simple to program, and I don't know why, but I was a loyal OptionVue client for years, and I still don't understand why they haven't done that. Part of the reasons why I've lost money, and I'm sure many traders have, is that you make mistakes, and it is a huge help to have a software that can send orders straight through to the TWS. One does a fair job at that, actually. So now I showed that little video just in case my software or there would be any little issue, but now let's have a look. So you're going to see that the program just checks and updates a few things, at startup, especially retrieving the important information in order to do the calculations, namely the interest rates, dividend yields, and the volatility term structure. I've tried to make it as simple as possible. So you go through the different stages by pressing enter a few times. And of course, if necessary, I will streamline that so that you don't even have to do that. But I mean, at this point, it's still pretty easy. So let's have a look. I have it running. Where is it? Yeah, maybe. So this is a program running. I'm running it. I've got the option metrics going. Why am I having it running at this time? The thing is that it's quite interesting, and it's also, to me, an important point. It's quite interesting to test modeling close to the expiry. The June cycle will close tomorrow night, and it's quite interesting to see whether I do calculate properly. And if you go to Excel, where the data is being fed, I actually compare my own IV calculations with the one provided by ID. It's pretty close, pretty close. Sometimes I even find that my own calculations are better than IV, but you'll have to see for yourself. You don't have to take my word for it. So everything is updated live here, and it's very simple. Then, if you want to do your own calculations, grids, your graphs, or everything, it comes live into Excel. So that's also something you don't get in other platforms, which are not only black boxes but also closed boxes. So I find this quite interesting and useful. Of course, it's for people who enjoy doing more than just looking at a screen. If you want to fiddle with the data, there's nothing better than Excel. And another thing, that it is actually very difficult to model IV so close to expiry because of the volt skew that becomes very exacerbated towards the end. So to me, it is a good test for a software. So if I look here, I have a vertical skew. And as you can see, this is a perfect example of a volt skew. I am not very good at programming graphs, and at this point, I don't even know how to use the mouse to play around with it. So I'm just using the keyboard with up, left, right. So if I do up, see, you can do the things, down, left, wrong. So there's lots of things you can do. This one is a combined vol skew for put and call. And if you want to look at put, because as you can see here, I've got two skews, one for put and one for calls. So if you want to uncombine, then you have the two graphs here, the calls here and the puts. And as it should always be with European options, because of the put-call parity, they should match pretty closely. And that's, you can plot labels if you want to see the exact volatility for a particular skew. So I find it quite interesting. You can put also the horizontal skew, but of course now there's only one expiry here, so the horizontal skew is not appearing here, but you have at least the VIX term structure here, which is also fitted in this yellow line, and it tells you that, well, we're in contango right now. Here's its number of days ahead, and this is about city level. And the fitness, where basically the polynomial regression shows here, so you can use that data to project more or less what volatility will look like in a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month, 2 months. So I use a lot of modeling even for data like the VIX futures, not only for options as such. What can I show here? Something that can be interesting. Yes, okay. Let's verify the metrics for now. For example, trade on this account, request executions. Yeah. So yesterday, just for the sake of this little exercise, I placed a very, very cheap call debit spread, 325, 30, 25, 30, 50 for about 5 cents. I can save it. Okay, call it call debit spread. Right, and now I'm going to hide this. And if I go to trades, I'm going to open my call debit spread is here. Okay, there it is. So, okay, and this is just a two options type of combo, nothing complex. But go for the G-log. But if you have a lot of trade adjustments, tweaking in that file, because I mean, this is just one combo for make it simple. You can then select to only view part of your strategy. I mean, let's say you want to see what if type of thing, and what if I want to look at what my trade would look like if I cancel this or that adjustment. It's quite possible. And even that simple feature I haven't seen in other software. So now I'm going to send it to the metrics. So go back to the metrics. There it is. So here in the metrics, this is the existing position. So I can plot it here. It's not looking fantastic here. I suppose when it's surplus to expiration, you have, yeah, this is it. And let's say, well, there's no simulation here. So let's say I want to add a PCS here. It's going to calculate that this one costs so much. So I'm not going to show you the place order, it's in the video, but I can. But the good thing is now you can plot the simulation. Oh, I forgot about the scholars. And if you want to have a look at the full risk graph, oh no, that's a trade. Where's the graphs there? This graph. As you can see, this is my PCS and my CDS that I bought yesterday. Very, very simple. There again, you can expand, do what you want. I will, at this time, I'm only plotting the T+0, but it's the same story. I mean, it's very easy for me to plot T+N. I mean, if you want to have 2, 3, 5, or 10 curves, it's no big deal. So this is an alpha version where I want to test the calculations, but there's no problem. I can add a bit of bells and whistles here as well. Okay, maybe since we have a bit of time, I'm going to show you the placing of the order. So about 15 cents credit for it. So here I can decide how. Okay, let's say I want to get 25 cents for it. So I'm going to confirm it. And then look at the margin effect. Okay, commission 2.88, margin effect, etc. I can maybe set it, duplicate the ID. So let's go to my TWS. There it is. So this is very, very simple, and I think it's a very useful feature to have so that you can send your as you can see, a simulation, check your prices, and it goes straight into. So if you find it's a bit too complicated, there are too many details, yes, of course, I can make it a bit more streamlined. There are it won't show here, but you know what? I'm going to restart from scratch. Okay, actually, let's start really from scratch. Something I've mentioned, it uses the very latest API 9.76. Okay, so this is the background data being, as I said. Okay, now web data has been refreshed. And if you want to have a look, you go to web data, view. There's a form of backwardation on rates, which is a bit unusual. So this is the rate curve from overnight to 6 months. And of course, when you do calculate your options pricing, you need to use the proper length or number of days ahead in terms of rates. It's quite important. And that can explain why pricing is a bit, although it's not that material, but this is not usual to have this type of curve on rates. And here, this is the big futures up to 6 months. And here, this is what I've showed in the previously already. Here are the dividend yields for SPX is almost 1.8%, etc., etc. And you can have up to 10 symbols, but we're not going to those details right now. So let's connect. Again, I could make it automatic, but to make sure that you can have several instances running, better to keep it manual. So this is your watch list. For the at the moment, I've set it up for 6 symbols: SPX, Russell, SPY, IWM, Apple, and ES, so that I could test it on US indices, US options, US American options on stocks and futures. Okay, so then you go into symbol definition. This you don't actually need to do anything unless you want to add new symbols to your list. You just go to settings. This is the main screen where you select which expiration and what strike interval you want. I'm going for July. If there's an M suffix, it's a monthly expiry. You can include the weeklies if you want, but no need to go into these details. 25 points. I'll confirm. Then I go to Excel setup. So I've got a predefined Excel spreadsheet, but you can select a new one every time. There you go. So I've just pressed enter maybe 5 or 6 times, and there it goes. So now it's starting to load the data. So I've requested data for 13 puts and 10 calls. With ID, your ID is not, they're not as generous as TOS in terms of data. It's better to keep your data request as small as possible. Now, a good thing to check when you put call parity, so puts and calls to the ATM, and this ATM is calculated by myself. I'm not using any ATM. Actually, that's something that IB does provide. You can't get the ATM ID through the TWS. So let's have a look at the metrics. Okay, there it is. So the calls here are put, and so let's get maybe have let's imagine ein Condor on maybe 3,000. Okay, so this is a credit for $7.9. This is your delta, your Vega. The simulation is here. Again, it's going to be. I will improve on this, and I will also add the T plus N and everything. It's just an example. and I will also add the button to convert. Because at this point, when you place an order, you still have to execute it, then request executions, save to a trade or a new or existing trade, and then load it again. That's something I will make simpler so that you have that same conversion feature like you have in OptionVue or commit in one. Okay, I mean, there's so much I can show. I don't want to, what can I show you? Something also that is important is to me it is important, is how volatility is faring historically. As you can see, this is the SPX, it's a one-year chart. We have the IV at 13.8, on historical volatility 1366, so it shows that IV is below HV, so it's not a great time to sell premium. I calculate also the covariance. The minus is not placed there, right? Yeah, okay. Anyway, so at the moment we have a 66 covariance between or correlation between volatility and prices. So normally it's about 80%, and that's also information that you don't find everywhere. And you've got the 1 SD and the 2 SD projections. So as you can see, there's quite a lot under the hood. Matrix console data grid. I could show you, no, I'm not going to show vol surface, but something you can do is you start calling for, this is vol surface data. I'm going to include weeklies. And for example, I want the end of June data, the July is already there, so I'm going to add the end of July and maybe August. Okay, confirm. There you are. So if I now call volatility surface data, we start, oops, exactly what I suspected. A bit of a bug here. Well, I will fix it. But basically, you can. Okay. Anyway, so I'm done for this. But you calculate your vol surface data, and then you can plot it here. But this is actually a feature I have disabled for this alpha version. Okay, so let's go back. Maybe you can have questions, but or a bit later. But support symbols, I think I've showed. Okay, SPX, Russell, and ES for now, including weeklies. And I haven't tested it with FX, but Bucksheet Standard works fine with FX, so that should be okay. And I will, yeah, that's fine. Okay. So in this alpha version, the calculations, the Greek calculations are done. I do calculate T+0 to T+N, even though they're not plotted right now. It does calculations now by default using individual volatilities, which is the equivalent of EIO, IO in OptionVue. But at this point, I do calculate the vol surface, even though there was a bit of a bug just now. But the vol surface needs to then be fed into the grid calculations. It shouldn't be a problem. Basically, a vol surface is a 3D curve with on the horizontal plane you have the strikes, and then in depth you have the time ahead, and the vol surface is the volatility for a specific strike and specific day in the future. So it's then easy to use that in Greek and options pricing calculations, and that's going to be done in the beta version. At this point, I am using a multiple nonlinear regression for those who are more math inclined. It's quite similar to OptionVue, but I am not using CEV, and I intend going around CEV actually and do another type of vault surface calibration. It's a bit complicated to explain right now, but I will do that in another presentation at some point. Also, something that you don't see in other platforms is that my vault surface is updated every 5 minutes. It's maybe another kill, but excuse me. Even on platforms which are server-based like OptionVue, the vault surface is calculated once a day, and they do use just minor tweaking to change the shape of the vault surface, but they don't recalculate it on a regular basis during the trading day, which means that if the market moves a lot from one day to the next, your vault surface calculation could be wrong. And I'm trying to overcome that limitation by updating my vault surface more often so that you don't have to recalibrate it, because calibration is just a shortcut, a quick fix. It's better to recalculate it live. The limitations and issues at the moment are that I'm using a fixed size options matrix. It's not like on other platforms where when you scroll up and down, the software starts calling for new data. That's something I may work on, but if you need other strikes, you need to go back to settings, extend your range of strikes, and then call for data ID. The margin calculations are okay, but I don't think it's 100% correct. I will have to test it in alpha and beta version. There is no, it doesn't work for financial advisor accounts. It's going to be implemented in a bigger platform, which I've nicknamed IB Folio, but it's not going to be the name. I will implement the option exercising, but it's not there yet, and I don't think it's there on any other platform anyway. I've tried my best to localize the software, but it works mostly with US regional settings. Actually, I've spent the last 2 days trying to make it work for European format using a decimal comma instead of a decimal point. And that's maybe the reason why I've actually added a bug in the last few days, just to make it work for European clients. As you have seen, I can send combo orders to the TWS, and I still have to add combos with the underlying or a proxy. For example, if you want to send an order through for a covered call, so a short call and so many underlying stocks. So it's easy, but it's easy to do, but I haven't done it yet. And I'm sure there are a few more bugs down the line. I hope I have my alpha version, which means normal features, just fixing the most bugs, and then according to input from users, make it simpler. I mean, if there are features that I've forgotten, which is quite understandable, I would like to close it by June 30th. It's not really a line in the sand. I mean, it can be sometime in July, but I mean, it's important to have milestones in your project. So I'd like to finish that by June 30th, latest mid-July. And then going into beta during summer and to start releasing it by September 1st. Of course, by then, I will also show the bigger platform that will go into alpha pretty soon. Something that I have not talked about is that it's also something that other platforms don't have, although it's very easy to code. I'm going to code weighted Vega. That has been a request from many traders for a long time. I will add Greeks that you don't see anywhere else, like Voma and Vana. Many traders don't know Voma, but if they had some visualization of Voma before the big crash early last year, they would have seen that what some people have called the Vegageddon was really brewing at that time, because Voma actually was actually sending all the alerts. So it's actually a good thing to have a Voma. I can add many other Greeks, but so again, that's the flexibility of a platform like this or a program like this. I'm very much interested into volatility calculations. I'm not going to go into details, but the standard calculation using variance and standard deviation is flawed. There are better calculations for, especially for us option traders, Garmin Pass, Parkinson, and all those will be coded. We'll also implement a feature to export combos straight into Excel. For example, you have your metrics, but you want to do a simulation for a list of brokering butterflies or on whatever strike interval you want to use. And you want to know the price and the Greeks for a list of combos, and then you pick the one you want and send it back to the metric. That will be done. It's not very complicated. And again, I will add the support for trading with the underlying, for example, the covered calls. In the second release, there will be historical data download. I haven't shown it, but it's already there. So that there will be, let's say, some possibility to backtest using user data. So data that you download yourself will be available, and you will be able to move back in a timeline and test the Greeks and whatever. But it's going to be only your own data. At some point, especially for the bigger platform, we will buy historical data from the CBOE, but it's quite pricey, and so I've left that aside for the time being. I will code the SQL database, just to make it a little bit more professional than using CSV files, but it's not really important at this point. And of course, I will add multi-surface and a lot of calculations that can be done on the server. I will try and do that also by sometime later this year. Some price information, really from the top of my head, doesn't mean that it will be, but I just want to make it, especially for beginners, I want to make it a very affordable platform. Yeah, that's it. I've been talking for almost an hour, so time for questions.
Yeah, there were a couple questions. Let's see. Eric asked, do you plan to support Eurex options traded in euros?
If it's available on ID, that should work, yeah. I'm pretty sure I've left USD currencies hard-coded here there in the program, so but yes, I mean, if someone wants to test drive it on European options, I'd be happy to make it work. Yeah, there's no reason anything under the sun that IB provide should work. Yeah.
Perfect. And then Mark has asked, is your program modular? Is it open to third-party developers to add functions or create independent GUI, or does it have its own API?
No, not really. No, you know, you can't. It's already based on the IB API. I'm not going to make it a bigger API. But the way around that is that a lot will be available through Excel. So, and there will be calculations made available to Excel VBA modules. So that means that when you have SOAP running in the background, the ball surface data, all the data will be available into Excel. So it's not an API, or they say a general purpose API, but there will be a lot of flexibility offered for people who want to code into Excel.
Okay, and then the other part of that question was, does it store data from IB for post-mortem review of past trades?
Well, your trades are saved in a trade file, and they can be reviewed. The only issue is having data. I have coded the facility to download data, but it's, just to save a bit, it's actually it takes a long time to download a lot of data for a lot of instruments and a lot of strikes. So I think at some point there will be a need to buy a database and plug it in. So yeah, at this time it's possible to download data, but the back testing, something I'll be working on. But it's really an issue that it takes a long time to download hundreds of instruments.
And then Marcus just asked, do you plan to eliminate Excel in the future? And if so, when?
Yes, that's the question of suggestions I've received already to make it optional. Yes, at this point, Excel is required when the program starts up, but I will make it work without Excel. Actually, it will work faster because the COM interface to Excel is a bit of a drag. It does. So I will make it optional or on demand, but not necessary when the program starts up. That's easy to do, yeah.
Now, is the bigger project, is that going to have SOAP included in it?
I'm coding all the algorithms. So the internal stuff will be the same. And I am thinking of, indeed, because there will be an upgrade path, anyone who's on SOAP will be able to upgrade at no extra cost to the bigger one. And I am thinking of actually, for those who still want to use SOAP on the side, they will still have it. So if you buy the bigger platform, name to be determined, SOAP will still be available for them.
Okay, and Marcus
So I think
asked,
it's going to be a pretty good deal.
yeah. Marcus asked, will it work on non-Windows platforms too?
I haven't tried, but now that .NET Core can work on, it's not my priority, but I am amazed to see that Microsoft has done a lot of effort to make the software a lot more portable. So again, not a priority, but I would say 2 to 5 years ago, I would say no way. And now I would say, since I'm doing a lot of calculations which are not really .NET related, it should be possible.
Okay. And then do you have like a rough timeline for the larger project?
The guy has caught up with me quite a bit. I would say he's a month off in terms of alpha. Maybe, I would say alpha would be, okay, to be on the safe side, end of July, beginning of August. But he's a lot more particular, and I think he will have a lot less bugs when it comes to alpha. So alpha to beta will be faster. So he's going to keep on catching up on me. Yeah.
Okay. Well, great. Well, that's it for the questions. So we're right at an hour, so it actually is working out pretty well. So thank you very much, Bruno. Interesting to see what you've been working on.
And if you want to contact me and discuss that, I will be discussing a lot of the software on my Slack group. And if you send me an email, I will send you an invite, and then you can talk, you can chat. So it's better discuss in a group than just one-on-one. So I've got a channel ready already. So yeah, sorry.
And if somebody wants to get a copy of the software for testing for alpha stuff, is that in your Slack channel, or do you want to put it in the forums at Aramir, or what's the best way for that?
Both. I mean, for discussions, I enjoy Slack, but yeah, just to send me an email, and I will send the package. I mean, maybe not today, since I'm moving back to France tomorrow. Give me a few days, but yes, yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Ready for testing.
All right. Well, thanks very much, Bruno. Really appreciate it. Thanks everyone for sticking with us. And yeah, hopefully we can find bugs for you and get this where it's ready to release.
Thanks, Tom, and thanks everyone for watching.
All right. Take care and have a good move.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.